Hey! I was watching, there's the TikTok about like a teacher made up a dance to the Kahoot theme, which is like the little kids play this quiz game called Kahoot. And she's like, whoa. Doo, doo, doo.
And hi, everyone. It's more Mothers of
Real Estate. Welcome, guys, to another awesome edition of Moms of Real Estate. We've got some really cool, interesting stuff happening right now. We like to get together each week. We talk about motherhood, marriage, money, and mental health. And this week, we are going to focus on motherhood. We're super excited. We have Jennifer Joyce with us. Pili's going to introduce her in a minute. Our other two amazing co-hosts happen to be working on marriage this weekend at a marriage retreat. So next week, they can tell us all about that and what they learned. But in the meantime, why don't we start before you introduce Jennifer? What's going on in your world? Let's share a little bit about what's going on in our worlds this week.
Awesome. It's been a fantastic day. We just had our first day of school. It went a lot easier than I thought it was. I guess I was planning for everything to just kind of fall apart, but we had everything together. He went off to school. He was all masked up. He went in 6 feet away. I don't know if you can hear them. They're all downstairs. They're very excited. So mommy's having mama time right now. So today has actually been really, really good. I'd say today is like a definite 10. Everything's working out. Lily had her virtual pre-K, and the little just got out of his nap. So he napped, but he's a little excitable right now, and he's with Jason. So today's a good day. Today's a good week. Real estate wise, we just closed on one property, and we are closing on another property today.
Boom. Yes. Awesome. For me, I'm at like a 7 or an 8. Just like we've talked about the past 2 weeks, my schedules have been way too full lately. And I kept thinking it was going to get better. And then I realized, no, I just have a lot on my plate. And I've tried to take off what I can take off. But there's just a lot to get ready for Flip Hacking Live. We launch all these awesome program upgrades. And I run the membership program side of things. So putting all those puzzle pieces together is it's a team effort, and it's like herding cats. And then we started school this week. I agree with you. I was expecting the worst. We're 100% virtual for a month, but it went really well. The kids are doing really well. The teachers are doing a great job of balancing that sitting in front of the Zoom and getting up and being active and interactive. And then on the real estate side, my helper is here. She's on the other side of the curtain, getting all the rental stuff together. But we have 12 single families, 14 doors. So I guess some of them are 2 units. But it's just been a rash of like repairs. Like I think all the repairs in the past 4 weeks will wipe out any profit for this year. They're big stuff. It's like roofs, and I just had an AC go yesterday, and I got a quote for that for $9,000 to replace it. And so now we got to get other quotes, and all the contractors are slammed right now, right? And material prices are going through the roof, and the roofers can't get roofers out. We have all these massive windstorms. The roofers are all backlogged. And I'm at a 5. I'm at a solid 5.
Sweetie. And Jennifer, if you're wondering, I have talked to Becca about large multifamily, and well, until recently, she's refused to listen to me. She's just like, la, 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 la. Every time
I just told you I don't have the mental capacity for anything.
No mental capacity for all the goodness. So now,
what's going on in your world this week? Maybe introduce Jennifer, and then she can tell us.
So everyone, this is my amazing friend, Jennifer Joyce. I've been trying to get her on Moms of Multifamily forever. Our schedules finally coincided. I had her on, and she almost brought me to tears with her story. And it wasn't anything big. It was just a mom's story of like doing all the things. And I was like, you're doing all the things. You're giving me all the feels. And I want you on Mothers of Real Estate because you just need to be here, and you need to talk to Becca, and I need her to talk to Melissa and to Stephanie, and she's just one of us. So I wanted to bring her on just so she could share her story with everyone else that's here. It's an amazing story of just being a mom, just simply being a mom, doing all the things that need to get done once COVID hit, and just excelling. where she is right now. So I'm going to let Jennifer take it over because I have a tendency to just let my mouth run. And Jennifer, everyone, welcome Jennifer Joyce.
Hi, everybody. I was listening to Becca's story, and I remember my single family days and my small multifamily days, and I want to like swoop in like the mother I am and be like, let me tell you all my secrets. I'll tell you all my secrets. I know what to do in these situations, but just my nature. I'm the mother hen who takes you under my wing, or the pay it forward player of the team who wants to see everybody just succeed and do better. So
love it. That's where I'm at. I'm looking at what the next evolution of this journey is, but in the meantime, I'm just keeping my head above water for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. So you guys said, what's going on in my world this week. I would say I'm on cloud 9 right now because we're fully subscribed on our 3rd large multifamily in 2020. So that happened on Monday, very late in the evening that we got there. And I'm just, that one, it just feels like everything else where COVID just goes on forever. And you never see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel. And we actually did it. We're done, and so now that we get to work on something new, which is getting to the closing table. So it's nice and refreshing to be phased out of one area of the raise into the next area, which is focusing on the lender and all the details getting ready for closing. So very excited about that. You guys were talking about kids going back to school. Our kids have been in school since the beginning of August. And
Jennifer?
Yeah, we're very, very blessed down in here in Texas because the governor put a clause into all of the mandates to state that if your child goes to a private Christian school, they get to make the decisions about how they implement things. And so our school decided to do on campus, no mask, no plexiglass, no distancing, but no parents allowed. So we're okay with a closed campus situation. And I'm happy to say, once again, cloud 9, no fevers, no positives, no nothing since the school year started. So I was reflecting yesterday about what this journey has meant, because we all went into our extended spring breaks in the spring. Mm-hmm. And, Pili and I were talking on our last Zoom call that, it was tough, all of a sudden you flip the light switch and your work life interacted with your kid life, interacted with your school kid life, interacted with your adulting. And it was all just one big mess. And I was telling her how that right there. I hate mistakes with my kids because I was so frustrated and so stressed, and I started working more than ever. It was almost that rubber band effect where we knew that everything was headed in the wrong direction. So we put more energy into it to make it snap back the other direction, that the kids got the brunt of it. I mean, they had to deal with me being angry and that they weren't allowed to see me because I was in Zoom call after Zoom call after Zoom call. And we were researching new mandates coming down from the state and federal level. We were just really stressed out, and you can't see the future. So you have to say, what am I going to do about this now? Mm-hmm. And so I made a lot of bad parenting decisions. I think that's the clean way of saying it. And they didn't understand, they're used to their world and their world being structured. And now there's no structure and mom's not available either. And so I will tell you that my exercise during COVID was going out on the trampoline, because every time they accomplished something at school, their reward was to take me up into the trampoline, and we would take the Bluetooth radio with us and play Trolls or Greatest Showman or something. And then I'd wake up the next day, why am I so sore? But it got me away from my computer too. So then about halfway through, I think I realized that things were not going well at home. Things were not headed in the right direction at home. And so I actually started clearing my schedule. I removed every Zoom call I could. Mm-hmm. I did as little after 5 o'clock and on weekends as I could, which means that's when everybody wanted to meet, right? Like everybody wanted to do something in all these time slots throughout the day, especially dinner time. And we just said, I'm done. I need to change the focus. We bought a ton of board games. Now my son loves board games. That's what he wants to do every day now. We do something now. I think before COVID enrolled in something called positive parenting. And I started trying to go back to basics, right? What were the rules that they advised if your kid was lashing out, doesn't matter what age they are, they show their emotions by basically taking it out on you. And so I went back to the basics. And one of the things is it's called special time at our house. They get one-on-one time with one parent, and they choose the activity. So if my daughter wants to play dolls, we play dolls. If my son wants to play a board game, we play a board game. But the other child has to be somewhere else with dad, whatever the case may be. And you pour into them. And it's apparently, for whatever reason, the consequence of that is a positive one, but they don't lash out as much. And they're more compliant, and they start thinking about how they can help their mom do the things that she needs done. It's amazing what's possible when you just stop everything, leave the phone in the office, and sit down and say, we're going to focus on you today, and what would you like to spend our special time doing?
How often do you do that?
You're supposed to do it every day, but we know mom life, right? Like, hold on, I've got to just let me do the laundry and then the dishes and then the meal. And so, my son will actually come up to me now. He prompts me and says, can we do special time? And so I try really hard to make it happen for him, even if it's not in the moment he asks. Like sometimes he'll now ask on the way home from school while we're still in the car. And I'll say, if you give me, 15 minutes to take care of the laundry, yes, we're going to do special time. We also need to find something for sister to do. And yes, we'll do it. And I don't do it every day, and I don't say yes every single time, but I feel like every time I can make that happen, he's going to grow up 10 times better than if I just sit on Zoom calls full time for the rest of his life, And so it's that, there's that mommy guilt that comes in, like, am I doing enough? Do enough in that moment and just forget about the rest of it. Don't worry about how you screwed it up yesterday or how you should have poured more into them today. You get another chance. They're still at home. Just take another chance and use it. And we are now having to pivot again. Now that they're in school, I was like, yay, I get to Zoom again, yay. But now, because of COVID, we're working 16-hour days. We're taking a break for, family time after school till bedtime. Now I'm going, but I'm still working 16-hour days. I need to scale that back and make it fit into the school day. That's what we used to do. And so now I'm trying really hard to still do a lot of saying no. And that's very difficult as a mother. Usually a mother says yes a lot. And it's to things that make the family's life better in the future, right? And so now I'm trying to start to make everything fit into a school day, and then make sure that I'm having me time at night, because I need to reset, especially with us getting up earlier and getting them out the door. And there's kind of a stressful morning routine now to get them off to school. And then who's going to get them picked up at the end of the day, whether it's dad or I. Now I want to pivot again, as long as we have this school environment, and, see if we can start condensing our days back down, even though nothing's probably better. We're probably still sitting at like a 4 or a 5 in America. I still need to go back to the basics. So I would say that's the thing that I try to do a reflection on at least once a week, is let's get back to the basics. How far away am I from the basics? I can still be a very successful multifamily mom, but what about the fundamentals? Are we back to the basics? I can still grow a blind fund so we can have dry powder and buy all this distressed property that's about to show up. But let's make sure family is back to the basics. So it's not a balance. It's very chaotic. It's very much forgiving myself constantly when I fall short, because I'm probably my biggest critic. But I've also, Pili and I have talked about, find your tribe. And I think it's becoming more important than ever, you know. And if you don't have a tribe, it feels like an island, especially now with us all virtual. It really does feel like an island. So I think I'm seeking out a more enrichment tribe. I'm looking for those deeper friendships. I'm looking for those deeper connections than our speed dating routine that we normally do in real estate. And then we catch up with each other over time after that because we're so busy, you know. I don't think the busy factor is going to go away ever. So now I'm spending more time trying to deepen those good relationships where we find support, where we find connection, and not competition, but collaboration.
Yes.
You know. So
I love how you said there, like forgiving yourself constantly. Because so 3 weeks ago we brought on Nina about Boldly. She does productivity planning. We talked about clearing your schedule and getting back to the fundamentals. And I actually had this moment last week where I realized I'm in a different season. I spent the past couple months previous to that being really intentional, back to basics, date days. I do not do it every day. Right now, I'm in a 6-week sprint, and I've already forgiven myself for that. And the funny thing is, like, I love what I do. So, like, last night I was working till 7 o'clock. It was my husband's birthday, and I was like, this is a total sidebar. You know how we like show love in the way we like to receive love? I always do that to him. And he does not like to receive love in the way that I like to show love. So yesterday I was like, he just wants to be left alone in quiet. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go work. I'm not going to force him to have family fun time. And I worked and I was like, I'm having so much fun. Sorry, kids. Mommy's having fun working.
Yeah, I love it too. I absolutely love it. And that's part of the problem is like, they don't love it. I love it.
What are you doing? I was like, I'm designing a website. It's amazing.
Yeah, we went to lunch yesterday with a bunch of moms in multifamily, and they were like, "Mom, their kid thinks that they play on the phone and play on the computer because that's what they do on the phone and the computer, right? No, mommy's really working right now. I'm not playing for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. I'm actually." And so then my 4-year-old to come in and like put her fingers on the keyboard and pound, 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 pound. Yes, and Mom, I'm working. And I'm like, that's great. Please don't delete that document on the screen right now.
You know what's interesting is like they can be the same, right? Like if we're at the point where you love your job, you can say, I'm playing all day. Like, wouldn't that be great to instill that concept in their head? That work is not drudgery, but something you get lit up about? Just interesting thought concept.
That's a great concept. I don't know how to ingrain that into like today though. How would you ingrain that in today? So like, for instance, my kids probably think I'm like playing video games right now with my mom friends. But
I'm connecting, right? Like we are playing. This is us hanging out. We're having a play date.
This is actually play date.
The mom play date.
I wish we were on the trampoline with music though, Jennifer.
Yeah. Well, and they would want to join in because if I'm playing and I'm having so much fun, they're going to want to do it too. And, you know, I think the concept at first was, oh, mom's playing, but I'm not saying that out loud. So I want to join in what she's doing. So I want to punch on the keyboard while she's on a Zoom call with 60 people. And I want to unmute and say hi to all of them because now we're playing, and we kind of shoved them out that room and said, you can't be here right now. And so, yeah, I love the idea. I just think I'm going to have to use it as like a science experiment to figure out what works for our family and go, okay, well, that was a disaster. Let's not try that again. But how can I bring them into how I play, just like they bring me into how they play? You know?
And also like explaining to them, like, do you have two kids?
I have 2 at home, yeah.
And so they probably don't both like to play the same thing. So maybe explaining that, like, you know, sometimes you don't like to do Play-Doh and they don't want to do your whatever game on the computer. Like we find different things fun.
Yeah, I love it. And this is why we all need a tribe, you know, then we can pour into each other. We don't have to have all the answers, you know.
Talk about answers. I want you to describe more about what you were saying about getting back to the basics. So the whole huge reason I wanted you to come on here, because I love how you structured your story. You're like, you know what, this happened. I didn't make the best decisions, but then I did what needed to be done, and I cleared my schedule, and I made the time, and we're doing these things, and now things have flipped again, and now you're repivoting. So how are you going to start getting back to the basics? Like, how do you pivot again? Like, what are you going to do?
I want to highlight too the fact that you said forgive yourself for what you did yesterday.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I used to have a lot of guilt, and that comes from something I haven't shared before, and so I think I spent a lot more time than most people who are busy spend on it. But my husband and I'm just gonna sidebar right for a minute here, Pili. My husband and I lost a daughter 13 years ago. So we took an extremely big step back and we reevaluated everything. And we went through several years of just on pause where we didn't make decisions, we didn't set goals, we didn't know if we were coming or going. We just kind of just watched the world run like a race car around a track in front of us. It was just everything moves so fast when that happens and you're at a standstill. And so we spent a lot of time on what's important and what matters. And we knew all we had was each other because it was our first. And so we made that a priority to help each other, almost like an old couple, help each other get through something very difficult and something where you can't do it alone, but you feel very alone because men and women process things very differently. And even though I was grieving and he was grieving, we weren't on the same page, but it was still that old couple that was like, you're having a really bad day today. Let me just bring you dinner, or let me just let you, go visit your guy friend who knows how to talk dad, And so then when we got the chance to have another one about 6.5 years ago, this was very scary. We didn't know what was going to happen. The doctors did not have a lot of faith in the situation changing. So we had to go in with open eyes that we could end up in the same exact situation. And there were some challenges. My son was born premature. So here we are again on a new journey, even though it wasn't the same as the first journey. And so there's a lot of mommy guilt that came from our firstborn, and it carried through into our secondborn. But we also learned how to celebrate the little things. And every time he had a great feeding at the hospital, it was a celebration. And every time we got an hour with him, it was a celebration because it was one more moment. And we knew how to share moments going forward. So when COVID hit, fast forward through 2 more kids, right? Like our preemie boy and then our full-term girl who had issues after she was born. Now we have 2 strapping little kids running around the house. They're doing great. But when my son comes to me and says, Mom, we haven't done special time in like 3 days. Can we do special time? I'm like, there comes the mommy guilt first. That's the first thing that happens. Like, yep, you're right. 3 whole days. It's actually been 4, but I'm not going to point that out right now. And then I'm like, okay, back to the basics. What's important here is him. He is our miracle after our mess, right? Like, so we cherish him so much that when he wants my attention, real estate may be how I play with my mommy friends, but he's the reason. He's my why, And then my daughter, she's so fierce. I know any of you who have daughters out there, they're so independent and fierce that I'm like, she's going to do real estate when she grows up. She's just so powerful. And I think I love this age because they don't even realize what guilt is. They just know they're just powerful. And my son, he's so much like me that I could see him do so much. But I also knew from my childhood that I want to support their dreams. I don't want to make them fit into mine. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I definitely see happen where have we even asked them what they like, want, or are passionate about, So, I am always forgiving myself, trying to replace guilt with you're forgiven and what choice are you going to make differently now? And it's like a little 3-step process, but it's because I've had so much guilt weigh down on my shoulders for so many years. As a mother, you overanalyze everything. And you make 1,000 decisions a day, and then you reflect and go, "Were all 1,000 a good idea?"
And statistically speaking, all 1,000 are not going to be a good idea.
No, they're not. And so then you even put more time into the ones that were not. And then instead, what I found, just because you have to be so efficient as a mother, instead of spending time reflecting on why it was not, what if I made a change off the back of that was better? And so instead of, going, yes, I just yelled at my son. And this is, I think, what Pili wanted me to hit on. I yelled at my son, kicked him out of my office, told him to get out. I'm on a Zoom call. I made a bad decision. Okay. But I had a call too. So where do I go from here? I don't focus on that. I focus on going out that door when it ends, going and sitting my son down and saying, Mommy made a mistake and I'm sorry. And I owe you an apology. And you're 6 years old. But I want you to see adults do that. I want you to see adults take ownership of something. And I want you to see that they can be wrong too, and that they can be sorry. And that's more important to me in that lesson than the original lesson of please stay out of my office and don't come in here and I don't have time for you, or come on in and just go wreak havoc on the keyboard and have some fun, right? I'd rather the lesson be what I decide to do next, because he's going to take that. And when he makes a mistake, he knows it's okay to make mistakes, as long as after the mistake is done, you go back to the person and you go through that process of saying, I was wrong. And will you forgive me? I made a mistake and I'm sorry, And so I feel like, we say that there's always an opportunity in every chaotic event. Even motherhood has chaos. So let's use those as opportunities to teach our children lessons when we screw up. Those lessons are just as important as showing them time, attention, our special time at our house versus them getting in trouble for the wrong reasons. There's still lessons we can implement into those situations where we screwed up or got too guilty or made the wrong choice. I feel like we can still come away from that with a better understanding and a better relationship with that child. So.
And what's interesting too, and I'm curious if you have found this. You talked about finding your tribe, something Pili and I have talked about a lot. We met through 7-Figure Flipping, which is a real estate mastermind, and like a lot of those people are still my tribe, are still our tribe today. They understand what you're going through. They're more likely to forgive you than you are to forgive yourself for your transgressions.
Right.
And they're there to lift you up and cheer you on. And there's one question I have and one thought that I'm curious about your feedback. The first is, have you found that with mom, you went on this positive parenting journey, right? Have you found a tribe to help support you in that? If so, how? And the second part is, maybe we can talk about this. Sometimes when you go into a bad place, the interesting thing is that you pull away from your tribe. Like when you need them the most, right, is when you seek them out the least. Mm-hmm. So those are the two things I want to think into. Have you found a parenting tribe? If so, how? And what are your thoughts on that pulling away, and how do we not do that?
So Pili has a saying, there are no new ideas. So I went and Googled, how do I do better? Oh, it's Becca.
I got it from her.
I'm feeling it. So it's no new ideas. So I found a group that I had done some books like How Do You Be a Better Parent? What do you do with a attention-seeking child versus a power-seeking child? Like I'd done the research to that point. Well, then I'm like, well, I'm in a bunch of multifamily Facebook groups. Shouldn't there be somebody who wants to do better at parenting out on Facebook? And I found a tribe out on Facebook that literally follows somebody who's done 30 years of research and spent her whole life pouring into this subject. And I just, paid for a mastermind in how to do better as a parent. And it came with a Facebook group. And I just wanted to see how other people were struggling. And even if they didn't know what to do, asking their tribe, what should I do in this situation? And she also has a training course of ideas for parents to make things better at home. And,
let's give them a shout out.
Oh, very nice. Okay,
yeah.
So let me look it up on Facebook. So positive parenting is kind of how I refer to it, but that'll get me a hit. Positive Parenting Solutions.
I think for ads.
And yeah, maybe was listening to me complain about it. I'm trying to see what her name is. It's not telling me her name.
Instagram and Facebook is telling me something that I need to be a part of the group.
Yes, and so
I love it. I mean, even if you send it over to Pili, we can drop it in the comments because
yes,
it's always nice to connect people with resources. And it's so interesting because my view on personal development and education 6 or 7 years ago was like, everything's out there. I don't need it. I don't have to pay for it. And what I really underestimated was this community aspect of it and what you can do when you're surrounded and supported by the right community. And I love how the intentional parenting, like a lot of us just do the way we were raised. That's how we raise our kids.
Yep. You either did exactly what they did or the exact opposite of what they did.
Right.
It's positiveparentingsolutions.com. So that should get them started. But I'll definitely share this page with you guys in Messenger later. And I'm sorry, my mommy brain is gone. What was the second thing?
The second thing was this idea that like, even after you seek out a community, right? Like you get into a point where you're either inspired enough or you're in enough pain that you seek out this community, right? Otherwise you're just riding in the mid-range. But then once you get into that community and you hit a massive roadblock, I see this happen all the time with real estate investors in our group. They come in the first year, they're on fire. They know what they don't know. And so they're open to that idea of sharing and pulling each other up. And then they feel like they pass a point where they should know better.
Yes. Okay.
And then they start pulling back right when they need people the most.
So that was a very hard lesson to learn as well, because I learned that with our first as well. So the two things that I really, really took away from that experience was, reprioritize, celebrate the little things. I guess it's 3, and then ask for help. And that's very hard, especially I think for women, because we're supposed to take care of 900 things at the exact same moment. And it comes from a place of pride or insecurity, and they're the same thing. They're just called 2 different things. But what happens is if you are insecure or you are proud, you're not going to ask for help. And when you put someone through a situation like what I went through, where I have 0 control, I don't get to determine the outcome, and it's the worst possible thing imaginable, you are left with nothing. You are stripped down to the bone, and you have a huge hole in your heart. And you've got to fill that somehow, and it humbles you to ask for help. And I'm not saying you ask for help right away. A lot of times you just kind of go into a funk and you say, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna be a 2-year-old and I'm gonna sit in the corner and I'm gonna just not, nobody understands me, And I had to learn that even though it was very painful for me to ask for help, it's the best thing I could have ever done. And even us doing it on our timing is a proud or insecure thing, where we wait and we kind of fester and then we go do it. It's because we have to get over ourselves. And so asking for help is very, very hard, I think, for us already. And then my situation forced me into it, forced me to start asking for help. The more I asked for it, it didn't get easy for a long time. It was almost like if you've ever worked a sales job, that first sales call is the hardest. And then the 1,000th sales call, it's still not fun. But eventually now it's like you could do it in your sleep, right? Mm-hmm. Asking for help is kind of the same way. The first time it's not fun. You're not going to like it. But keep being persistent with that. I would recommend any of the moms to just ask for help. And if you don't want to,
I'm giving everyone who watches this homework. There is something in your life where you could use help.
Yes.
In the next 24 hours, go ask for help. Call your parents to watch your kids, or call a friend and tell them that your marriage is on the rocks and ask them to support you.
Yes. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be big. You can start small and get some momentum behind asking help. Why don't you ask help from your husband to go pick something up from the store? You could start small in something you feel comfortable doing, where it's a safe place. And that's kind of the best way to start with your safe tribe. You know, asking the husband to go get, something you're out of from the store is not that big a deal, but it's a safe place to start asking for help, and then go to somebody who doesn't live in your house and do the same thing. And then go to somebody who's doing something you want to see yourself doing in the next year or two.
For help. Yeah. Yes. I love this.
And then you'll get that momentum going behind it. Just like, the first time's always the hardest. The 100th time you do it, it gets easier and easier and easier. So,
and hit this one, but also ask for help and understand that the way that they help you may not be the way that you want them to help you. Like, I think some of us, like asking your husband to go get milk or whatever.
Yes.
Like in your mind, you're like, if you want to be helpful to me, you'll go to the store right now and you will get that milk. And really, maybe it's like they say, I'm going to go tomorrow morning and I'm also going to get eggs, bread, whatever else. You're like, no, but I need you to go now. You're like, well, can you solve the need? Right. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people will reach out to me and say, can you mentor me through wholesaling? Can you do this? And I'm like, we have this awesome event coming up, Flip Hacking Live, buy a ticket. I promise. Every question you could think to ask me and all the ones you won't think to ask me will get answered there. And they're like, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted 20 minutes of your time. I'm like,
can't do it in 20 minutes.
I have a comment off of that.
We actually have a question. Sometimes asking for help seems to lead to repercussions, like they choose not to work with you because you obviously make bad decisions. Why is that? Though sometimes the solution and help appears, it also seems like you can't have an urgent emergency very frequently. This is from Natalie. So what do you think?
She asked a lot in that one question.
Yes, let's go for, I think this goes back to mom guilt. And this is like, for me, like when I want to reach out to ask somebody, sometimes it's like, okay, so the first thing, if it's something big, like for instance, with the kids, if I need help watching the kids, or I need somebody to like take over some things, or I'm just feeling bogged down and I just need somebody just to take the kids for an hour. Sometimes when you do that, you're thinking to yourself, okay, so I can't watch my kids, so I'm a bad mom. And if I tell somebody else that I need help, is that going to make me look bad? Or maybe she's doing the guilt of the thing. I hear a lot of guilt in this question. Because this is what goes through my head. And then like, if I have an emergency happen, but like what I need help with is right now, and I need my husband to go get milk, but maybe one day like I'll actually need him to go get something really, really important. So do I use my help ticket now? Or
and getting down to the underlying issue, right? Like we can go back to the milk thing. The milk thing is like, I have an emergency right now because I ran out of milk, but the actual underlying issue is that you didn't plan ahead. Whether that was like scheduling too much stuff in your time or just not thinking. And so same thing with childcare. Like if every day in the afternoon, you're like, I can't handle these kids anymore. I need you to come take them for a half hour. And that happens every day. You're right. You're band-aiding the problem with the help. You're not, right? Jennifer, I don't know if that
what do you think, Jennifer?
Well, the symptom there is waiting too long before asking for help. So the real issue is you're asking for help when it's now I've screwed up somehow, or I didn't plan ahead enough, and now I have an emergency and I need to maintain control of the situation, but I need you to go do something. That is not asking for help. That is asking to that is giving a little bit of control over to somebody else, but maintaining all your pride and all your insecurity. So that's not asking for help. Asking for help is before it ever gets that emergency like. Now, look, we can all take ownership for the emergencies and when we do need help, and those things do happen.
They're going to happen.
It's as simple as we're out of milk and I didn't plan ahead, and honey, I need you to go get milk. And he goes and gets eggs and bread and no milk. Like that's happened.
For sure.
But
that's something I would do.
Sooner. You have to ask for help sooner. You have to do it before it becomes an emergency. There's some sort of saying out there, I'm going to totally badger this, but an emergency on your part does not create an emergency
on mine. Yeah,
exactly.
The plan on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine.
Yeah. So emergency help, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about help at the beginning, help through the process, help all along. Okay, now we've had a setback. Who can I go talk to just vent about the setback? And maybe they can help me just by listening about my setback. I don't really have a solution yet, but I need to start asking for help on a regular basis. And if you're worried about somebody giving you a consequence from asking for help, such as thinking that you're less than, or thinking that, you aren't worth working with, that's not your tribe. That's not somebody, they're giving you feedback about them not being your tribe. Now, they may be a guru or they may be well respected, but you need to find your tribe and you need to ask for help sooner. I would say off that question, those are the things I would comment.
And Natalie, as a woman and a mom to you, you are doing an awesome job. Just want to tell you that. I know some of the stuff that we said that might be a little bit hard hitting, but we're coming from a place that we know how you feel. I've definitely come from a place where I didn't plan something, so I'm going to need some help. And yes, I messed up, but I need to forgive myself in this moment, because nobody, you have to forgive yourself first before anybody else is going to forgive you. Yeah. So if you make a mistake, don't be afraid to ask for help, because that's how you're going to rectify it.
Yeah. Yes.
One reason the rookie pulls back, maybe the contractor stole their money and they should have known better, so they don't ask for help again. This is again, not even a rookie mistake. This goes
that has definitely happened to all of us.
Yes. Yes.
Jennifer says it hasn't happened here. She's lying.
I've even seen it in large multifamily where somebody pays a deposit to a contractor for 30, 50K and they lose all that money, and they have to hire somebody for the same job that is a $200,000 job, and they just increase their cost of that job by 50K because it's just gone. So, and it even happens, it happens from single family all the way up to large commercial.
So we are at the 45-minute mark. I know we have a hard out. Becca, why don't you give a little bit about what's happening with Flip Hacking Live for the next 30 seconds? Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us. You are amazing. Anybody?
Jennifer, I got pages and notes. I really enjoyed
it. Wow.
Absolutely. It's awesome.
We will be calling you guys for advice. Don't worry. It's going to happen.
All right. Love it.
Back to you.
Yes. So listen, Flip Hacking Live is about real estate investing, wholesaling, rehabbing. A bunch of really prominent, awesome people are going to talk about sales, dispositions, acquisitions. How do you run a 7-day flip? Or just how do you shorten your flip times? How do you raise money? I don't know if I can announce that guest, but we have a very prominent, amazing speaker coming who basically wrote the book on money raising, and some other cool, awesome speakers. Ticket prices go up today. It's $297 for 3 days of ridiculous content, which is laughably cheap. And tomorrow there'll be $397. So we're going to drop links to buy your tickets. If I get to mine first, or if Pili gets to hers first, we just get bragging rights if you buy them through our link. I don't get anything else out of it. But buy the ticket and come, because finding your tribe, like this event, will change your life.
Yeah,
literally change your whole way that you view the entire world for the better.
This group, I'm going to say, give me a second. This group changed my life. Changed my life. You can see plenty of podcasts on how this group changed my life, but it did. It did change my life. So get out there, buy that ticket. Everyone, you guys are amazing. Jennifer, again, you are amazing. Becca, I think you're amazing. And thank you so very much. I'm going to leave this for everyone, www.fliphackinglive.com.
But that's okay, because I'm not in this for the bragging rights. I'm in it to see people succeed who right now you don't think you can, and you can.
Yes. So thank you. This is more. And you are all amazing. Have an amazing day. Bye now.